Yep, sure.
All right, everybody seen the minutes of the September 17th meeting? Was that what it was? Like circulated?
Yeah.
You want to take a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve these. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Second.
Yep.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Chair, don't give. Mr. Chair, don't give my thought.
Opposed? So Dan, you're on.
All right.
Thank you for coming and thank you for
I think the question we wanted to answer was the question, the confusion that occurred last week. There was the question of whether the Jamestown electric bill was taken out of those numbers or not. And the reason is because they were accounted for in the economic portion of the study we did here, but not taken out. So the way the numbers were calculated in the initial economic study was because we were dealing with a more true to its name net metering, right? So the values were accounted for in terms of the amount of value that each kilowatt hour that you weren't having to pay for in the electric bill was worth to the town. So when you look at the economic tables,
But as if it were cash instead of...
as if it were cash,
Right.
But when you look at this table and say, you know, on 1217, table 12-11 for a 2 megawatt turbine on Taylor Point, it says at the very bottom line, we're going to have a $3,879,355 profit, right? Okay, that's true. But you won't see much of that in cash, right? It'll simply be that you won't have to pay your electric bill because it will be offset, and there's the value of the dollars. In the meantime,
Though to stop you.
there's an or. There's an or.
Because the cash would be there, because it would be cash that the town didn't have to pay for its electric bill.
For its electric bill. Or it's simply, here's the money that could be used to offset the cost of running the turbine, borrowing the money to develop it, and then operations and maintenance, right? So you have to pay both those things, and the money here is only generated once, right? And it's never taken out. It's taken out actually in these tables in terms of the payment that you have to generate in order to pay down the debt from borrowing the money to develop the project in the first place. So in these calculations, the value of the money is based on the value that the town doesn't have to pay for the electricity, but the electricity bill is not paid in these cases. The debt for developing the turbine is what's paid on these tables.
I think a better way to explain it would be just leave the electric bill out of it altogether and just say it's revenue.
It is revenue, and it's just the value based on the revenue.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the simple answer is no.
No.
And I think
It's not taken out here, and it's not taken out in the
And I think
numbers.
for the purposes of just clearing communication, which I'd really like us to make sure we do,
Right.
is to have simple answers
Right.
to these questions.
Right.
I understand what you said.
Because when people started getting confused, there was confusion there were some people who were kind of not fans of the thing, whose eyes were lighting up and trying to say, oh, well, they got some this, there could be other problems with this whole thing. And I'd really like to make sure we communicate very clearly. So to explain it the way you did right there, I'd grade that down about D. I'd rather get a real simple explanation that says, here's the money we're going to make, right?
Yep.
And we're going to have that cash. It comes, but it doesn't involve the electric bill at all. You know? So, because the only calculation you're doing is, in the electric bill thing is, you have a value.
It's the value.
Some dollars per megawatt hour.
Based on the electric.
Based on the electric load, right? And then another dollars per megawatt hour that's based on excess.
But it is based on the bill. So
yeah.
So when you're not paying your electric bill, because the way it's calculated here, you're literally offsetting the electric bill, right? So you're not paying that, but you do have to pay this thing here, right?
could also look at it as offsetting, recreation department offsetting.
Right. So it's the value that the town would have gotten now. Now you're using that value to pay down the debt, not to pay the electric bill, but
we have at the end.
you have to pay the electric bill.
We still have to pay the electric bill.
$300,000 a year.
Right, but we get $22,000 a year cash from the turbine.
Correct.
Right before.
Mhm.
After we pay
not
for all
have
the
it.
Right, exactly.
We
So
always had
the
electric
profit is still profit.
Right.
That the town will make $3,879,000 more than it's making now.
Right.
Right?
I think we just
So
need
there's
to
no
make it
negative
clear.
here at all.
Right,
in
we
that.
just need to make it really clear.
Right.
That when they ask, is that after it erases the electric bill?
Right.
That answer is no, that answer
The
is
answer
not.
is no.
13 sentences about what
Right.
happens to it,
Right.
So I think we gotta be really clear.
Well, when Bruce said, if we have to pay the electric bill, it's a wash at the end.
That's not true, but that's wrong.
He
That's wrong.
implied
Right.
that there was
Bruce.
net financial.
Correct.
Speak of it.
So that is Yeah, that was an incorrect statement, and then from there, it
Well,
just.
it wasn't exactly incorrect, but it left the impression that.
No, it was incorrect. It's not a wash. We're $3,800,000 richer than we were
I'm
without
paraphrasing.
it.
I
No,
don't
it's not a wash at all.
What words?
If the revenue was only one half of our electric bill, that's still money that we're getting that we would not have gotten before.
Correct, exactly.
And the electric bill, we paid it before, we're paying it again, so if,
Right.
as long as that's a
You're still
positive
paying it,
number,
right.
whatever it is, it's
Exactly.
money we weren't
Yeah.
getting before.
Right, so that's what.
I think, we got confused.
Right.
And I was reading it out.
So in other words, Ken, if you don't do a wind turbine, you can make this table, there'd be no wind turbine, and you'll have zero cash benefits, and you still pay your electric.
And you have negative 300,000, negative 300,000, negative
Right.
300,000 every year.
Right, now is this,
The electric bill.
The electric
Put the
bill, right,
electric
right.
bill into the table.
If we're including the electric bill in our discussion of what is and what isn't. But right, if you didn't do the wind turbine, this would just all be zeros.
right,
Right, and the way I
You're still
thought
paying
about it
electric
afterwards,
bill.
Bob, sort of, turned the light bulb off and on my head,
Reset, hit the reset button.
is that, in our base budget currently, the expenditure for the power supply is currently built into our budget. The tables you showed us are all new revenue,
Exactly.
how much we're currently receiving, so that's net new revenue beyond any current expenditures we're incurring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why didn't I see that before?
I would never be all that.
And that's where all these new numbers fit in. So these new numbers from the new table, side-by-side comparison table, those numbers in the cumulative net revenue over 20 years can be compared directly to the 20-year number at the bottom of table 12-11, for example. Right? So there's nothing wrong with these numbers over here. They're done the same way that these numbers were done.
And these are the same tables that we used.
Yeah, same ones, right, yep, didn't change anything. So, the one fact you might think about is that if you build a wind turbine and it makes approximately $6 million in 20 years, you will have not only built the wind turbine and generated all that electricity, but you will have paid your entire electric bill too. So, it's a benefit, it's a net benefit over,
Say it again.
of $6 million over 20
Yes, net
years.
benefit, yeah, absolutely.
Net benefit of
Yeah.
$6 million over 20 years.
And we could
Otherwise not have.
Correct.
And we can choose to spend it on the electric bill or on the
Or not.
water bill or whatever we want to spend it on.
Correct.
It's just another revenue stream coming in. It's like renting the cell phone towers to the company.
Right.
You know, giving them a spot, that's a net new stream of revenue. It doesn't mean we don't get a
There's a
cell
lot
phone bill.
of different ways you can present it, obviously, based on what the options that it opens up for the county. One would be to say, okay, we can spend on whatever you choose to. And if you're looking at the existing budget, you're saying we could reduce taxation by $300,000, average
Every year.
$300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Or if there was a major capital project you wanted to undertake, you could put $300,000 in a debt service, which is, that would be about $4 million worth of capital expenditure. that we could pay for it entirely through this project without having